And definitely one of the most famous scores.
Well, the music sounds violent, like that. Reet, reet. I mean, there's a reason everybody knows that.
Yeah.
So, like, when you think of it, you think of a knife stabbing into skin. Like,
Yeah,
it has that unnerving sound to it.
Yeah, that feel of the discordant, melody, discordant chords and the sharp pulls on the strings. So it's just like, yeah, it feels like, your ears are getting stabbed when you listen to that. And it's still, I found out, and it's still fascinating to me that Hitchcock initially was like, there's not going to be any music in that scene.
Yeah, he originally wanted it to be, he said something like, he thought it would make it more like stark and shocking or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it was his wife that convinced him to do it.
Well, I guess Bernard Herrmann just scored it anyway.
Okay.
So you don't have to use this, but here. And overall, I guess that was part of the thing was that initially Hitchcock had seen it without the score on it and was just like, this didn't turn out so good.
Yeah.
I might have to just put this on TV. And then once the score was done, he gave Herrmann like a huge bonus, just like, this movie is a third you. Something like that.
Yeah.
Like, it is. It really throughout. The score is a character.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the first thing in the movie. Saul Bass opening credits with that famous score, which was famously ripped off for Reanimator. I think Richard Band, who did that music, he called it an homage.
Oh, sure.
It's just the same thing. But that shower scene also famously that's shocked people because it killed off your protagonists a third of the way through the movie. And that's, again, like, I wish I could watch this for the first time because you are with Marion Crane for the, that whole first part of the movie. You sympathize with her, like you understand her dilemma.
I mean, she's just trapped in this mistake she's made. And that's, she takes the opportunity and almost immediately starts regretting it. And we think that's going to be the story. And there's this, this nice young man who's runs the hotel, and we're going to see what happens to her in her travails. Like, is she going to be able to make it to Sam before something or other? And just no, she's dead.
Well, I love the element of almost like chance that's in the movie. Like, even from the first shot, I know it was famously supposed to be one long shot, but they kind of had to chop it up when it's going into the window. There's a series that dissolves there, but it's like, we could have went into any other window in that hotel and we would have a completely different story. And then Marion Crane, she could have stopped at any different hotel. It would be a completely different story.
Yeah.
And then there's that great kind of Hitchcockian black humor after she's killed in the shower. The camera pans over to the newspaper that she's wrapped the money in.
Right.
And it's like, hey, that's what set this whole story in motion, and it doesn't matter anymore.
Nope.
The entire catalyst for the story, just meaningless.
Yeah, and we're completely on a whole different track now. And I think the movie does a little bit of foreshadowing of something.
I've caused you some trouble.
No, my mother, what is the phrase? She isn't quite herself today.
The Norman seems like a creep eventually. Initially, he just seems like a shy kind of weirdo. He just really likes candy corn. And then they have that whole discussion in the parlor.
Which may be my favorite scene in any movie of just two people having a conversation.
Yeah.
If you love someone, you don't do that to them even if you hate them. You understand? I don't hate her. I hate what she's become. I hate the illness.
Like, so much happens in that scene. You see Norman Bates go through so many different emotions. You see her completely, change her entire plan of what she's doing.
Yeah.
Because of her reaction to him, and just like the angles, like she's shot kind of, sort of eye level. He's shot just slightly below, looking up, makes him a little intimidating. It's just very subtle.
Yeah.
And then, then there's that really low shot where you see one of his taxidermy is an owl, I think, is behind him.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, and that's where you start to get the sense, like, not even necessarily, what he's up to, but number one, that he's a lot creepier than he seemed initially. And number two, he's going to be more of a character in the movie than you think initially.
Oh, sure.
Like, that's really where it's just like, okay, we're gonna.
Well, that's a long
dialogue.
dialogue
Yeah.
scene. I think that's probably the longest conversation in the movie between any characters.
Would think so.
Good night.
She leaves the parlor, and then this is the first time that we're not with her. It
Right.
holds on. It holds on Norman, and it's like, okay, we're switching over to a different movie now.
Yeah, yeah, and it does it so easily that it's you barely even think about it when it's happening, if you think about it at all.
Yeah.
Mother, oh God, mother, blood, blood.
And then the shower scene happens,
Yeah.
and then like that long, meticulous cleaning up afterwards. Like it's
So methodical and
Yeah.
just, oh man, he's just. You feel for Norman so much there because, you know, in the language of the movie, you don't know that it's him yet. So he's just having to clean up after his mother, and just like he's conflicted and he's worried that someone's going to find out, and he just is making sure that every little thing, as much as he can, is cleaned up and put away. And you feel for Norman a lot at that point.